To speak proficient English for the future, you need to know all of these. If you're not sure about one or more of the grammatical features shown on this page and you want to reach a C1 English or C2 English level, then watch this video. I'm going to teach you 20 important lessons that you need to know to speak about the future in an advanced way. Lesson 20 is on future speculation. Let's imagine that we're going fishing tomorrow. And we're speculating or imagining what might happen. We could say, it should be a great time, or I might catch a fish. And these are two ways of speculating about the future. When we use should, this is a future expectation. It should be a great time means I expect it will be a great time. But with could, may and might, we're expressing a future possibility. I might catch a fish, but I might not. Now, this is speculating about a real situation. But what about if you're speculating on an unreal situation? For example, we want to go to the museum next week, but we can't. It will be shut. So this is unreal. It's not possible to go. What about if we speculate on this unreal situation? It would have been a wonderful time. I might have seen a fossil there. Now the structure could have, may have, might have or would have, followed by a past participle, is typically used for the past, but it can also be used for speculation about the unreal future. Lesson 19 is when events are supposed to happen. When does the race start? The race should start at midday. It should have started at 11 a.m, but they changed the plan. Now, first of all, notice should start. When you have should followed by verb and the time phrase, this is to do with the planned time of event. The race should start at midday. The plan is to start at midday. But when we use should and have and the past participle followed by the time phrase, this is the previous planned time of the event, and it's no longer true. For instance, it should have started at 11 a.m. Is it still starting at 11 a.m? No, this was the previous planned time. So should and have and past participle followed by the time tells us when something was previously planned but is no longer the plan. Lesson 18 is future advice. Look at this sentence here. You should go for a river walk whilst you are in the city. Here we have should followed by the verb go in the infinitive form. And we use should followed by the infinitive for important advice, which can be in the future, but also here for future encouragement. So you should go for a river walk is encouraging someone to do something. But there are other ways to give future advice too. Look at these sentences here. It would be a good idea to take a map with you, or it would be sensible to take your phone. And here we're using would be. Would be is used for important future advice. We can use would be in a number of different ways. Firstly, look at the example, you would be advised to take a map. Here we have the subject pronoun followed by would be and then the past participle. But when we're using it, we follow a slightly different pattern. It would be a good idea to take a map, or it would be advisable to take a map. And here we have it followed by would be and then either an adjective or a noun to express the future advice. 17 focuses on the word well. What is the difference, for example, between I might get an IELTS 8 and I might well get an IELTS 8? What difference does the word well make? Well makes the possibility stronger. So I might well get an IELTS 8 shows higher expectancy than I might get an IELTS 8. And we can use well with might, may, and could. And before we go to the next point, a reminder, I have an English grammar course with 33 hours and 500 videos from me. A link is in the description below. Lesson 16 is future commands. For example, you must put the books away. Well, this is a command for now, but to make the command future, we simply add a time phrase. You must put the books away tomorrow. Now, we've been looking at a few different uses of modal verbs for the future, and it's important to note at this stage that there is no such thing as a future tense. We usually use modals and present tenses to express the future. Will is common because it shows certainty about the future. But as you can see from lessons 20, 19, 18, 17 and 16, modals play a large part in determining how we speak about the future in English. Lesson 15 is if clauses using will. Now, usually we do not put will in the if clause. For example, if people vote for a kind political party, there will be peace. So there's no will in the if clause here. And that's the usual pattern. But there is one exception. If the if clause contains the future result of the main clause, we can use will. Look at the example carefully. If it will lead to peace, I will gladly vote for another party. Now, what's happened here? Well, the if clause is actually the result of the second clause. What it really means is, I will gladly vote for another party on this condition, if it will lead to peace. And because if it will lead to peace is the result of voting for another party, then we do use will in the if clause. Lesson 14 is shall for insistence. Now, shall and will usually mean the same. For example, I will write my essay next week and I shall write my essay next week seem to have the same meaning. But there is one slight difference that sometimes comes up. Shall is preferred to show insistence from the speaker. Look at the example carefully. You shall arrive on time tonight. I require it. Now here, shall is not simply predicting the future. Shall has a sense of force to it. The second sentence explains, I require it. So by saying, you shall arrive on time tonight, you're saying, I insist that this happens. Can we use will instead? Yes, we can. But the danger with using will is that will could also just simply sound like a prediction. So if you say, you will arrive on time tonight, then we're just predicting the future. 13 is future warnings. Have you ever been in this situation where someone is doing something that you think they shouldn't do? For instance, I'm going to throw your favourite magazine in the bin. How do you react? Perhaps you'll say this, don't do it, I'll tell. And maybe you're thinking that you'll tell your parents or a manager or someone in authority. Notice the words here, I'll tell. We can use will followed by the infinitive to give a warning. So I'll is short for I will and tell is the infinitive. But notice there are no extra words after tell. And often when we give future warnings, this is done without adding any extra words. We simply use will and then the infinitive and then we end the sentence. 12 is using will for the present. There are some situations where we can use will and it has a present meaning. Here are two of them. Firstly, look at the pictures here. We have someone smoking and someone pointing. Perhaps they're saying this: he will keep smoking those awful cigarettes. They will insist on making us take off our shoes before entering. So in both of these situations, will is about a present situation. The smoking is happening now. But why did we use will? Well, will shows annoyance about a present habit or situation. And to show that annoyance, we put an extra stress on the word will. He will keep smoking those awful cigarettes. Another way of using will for the present is in a question like this: will you stop smoking? And will can be used for strong present requests. When you use will in a question, it's about now, but it's more forceful than using would or other methods. So be careful when you use will in this way. Lesson 11 is a surprise because we're teaching that will can be used for the past, and it's in this situation here. Will have, followed by the past participle, can be used for assumptions about what people learnt before now. Look at this example. I expect you will have seen the news in the paper yesterday. It explained that we are the best in the business. Now, will have seen here refers to an expectation that the people saw something before now. In fact, yesterday. So will have followed by the past participle can be used in this way for the past when you are assuming someone else's knowledge. Lesson 10 is how to speak about pre-planned activities. Let's imagine you're on a day out in London and someone has planned the day for you in advance. And they say something like this: this is what we are doing tomorrow. First, we see Big Ben. Later, we travel past Buckingham Palace. Now, notice the tenses that are used here. In red, we have the present continuous, and in blue, we have the present simple. But we're speaking about tomorrow. Why is this? Because when describing things planned before now, it is common to use present tenses. Use the present continuous for planned activities and the present simple to make events feel scheduled. 9 is using be and to, followed by an infinitive. Let's start with 2 examples of how we do this. First, the leader of the party is to take her place as president in January. Now here we use is to when we make a future activity feel official or formal. We could have said the leader of the party will take her place, but by saying the leader of the party is to take her place, it makes it sound like an official announcement. In the second example, if you are to pass the exam, you must study hard. Here, B2 introduces a condition for success. How do you pass the exam? Study hard. If you are to pass the exam, you must study hard. So this condition must happen first before the result in the second part of the clause in the future. 8 is the present continuous for future orders. We're probably all familiar with a situation like this. A child has a messy room and the parent is not happy about it. And the parent says something like this: listen to me. You're cleaning your room by the end of today, whether you like it or not. Now here we've used you're cleaning. And here we're using the present continuous for an order to do something by a certain time. Number 7 is tense simplification. Will you start without me? No, I will wait until you come. Now, notice we don't say until you will come. And the reason for this is tense simplification. Here we have 2 clauses. I will wait, which is the main clause, and until you come, which is the second clause. We call it the subordinate clause. If we use will in the main clause, it is usual not to use will in the subordinate clause. But there are some exceptions. One exception is with linkers of reason and another is with linkers of contrast. So for example, if you say, will you start without me, and answer using because, it would look like this. No, I will wait because you will make the occasion better. With the linker of contrast, no, I will wait, although others will probably start. And lesson 6 teaches about a situation where you can use past tenses for future intentions, the past continuous. Look at the question and the answer. What are you doing tonight? I was planning to go to the carnival. Now, here, the plan was made before now, but it refers to the future. It refers to tonight. And we can use the past continuous or the present continuous to explain intentions for the future, which were made in the past. Now, how would you choose between the two? Well, sometimes there's no difference, but there can be this slight change in emphasis. The past continuous is often used to make plans appear less fixed, or if you had to change plans after they were made. Look at this second example at the bottom of the screen. I was thinking to go to the match, but I don't think I will have time now. So we use the past continuous for the plan, which will be in the future. The match is after now, but it's not going to happen anymore. And using the past rather than the present helps the listener understand that this idea is no longer true, even though it all refers to the future. Lesson 5 is for the near future. Look at the 3 examples on the screen. We are about to buy a new car. Scientists are on the verge of a breakthrough. I expect she'll arrive at any time soon. What do these 3 phrases have in common? Well, it's that they tell us something is going to happen in the future, but very close to now. So phrases such as will or going to don't carry this sense of being the near future. We need to use different phrases instead, sometimes without will or going to. 4 is verbs with future meaning. Let's look at some examples to demonstrate this. Look at the question first. What are your plans for next year? Now, people generally have lots of different plans, but sometimes people say things like this. I intend to lose weight. I plan to go on a long trip. I hope to pass my exams. And verbs such as these, intend, plan, hope, and wish, can express future meaning without will or going to. So in each of these 3 sentences, we're speaking about the future, but it's purely the fact that the verb has future meaning that tells us it's for the future. Number 3 is stating opinions on a future activity. What do you want to do? I don't mind. What we do. It doesn't matter where we go. And phrases which state neutral opinions such as I don't mind, I'm not worried about, and it doesn't matter are followed by the present simple without will. 2 is the use of imperatives for the future. For example, when do you want me to complete the task by? I don't know. Do it when you like. So here the imperative is do it. We have the verb without the subject. We don't say you do it, we just say do it. And notice in the clause after the relative pronoun, we use the present simple. And this is a very common feature of the imperatives for the future. We use the imperative followed by the relative pronoun and then the present simple for a future instruction. Do it when you like. And the relative pronoun needs to have some sort of indication that it's to do with an event in the future. And finally, lesson number 1 is looking forward from a future point. So here you're imagining being in the future and you're thinking about even further into the future. Such as in this example. This man has no money. And he's thinking this: if no money comes in by the weekend, I will be hoping for a miracle in order to pay my bills by Monday. So let's break this into different time segments. First of all, he's thinking about a future point, next weekend. And at that point, he wants to have money. But if he doesn't have money at that point, what needs to happen in the future from that point? Well, he will be hoping for a miracle in order to pay his bills by Monday. So what have we done here to speak about this event that's further forward in time from this point in the future? Well, to imagine you are at a point in the future and looking further forward in time, you can use, first of all, the future continuous, which is verb and to be, and then the verb with ing. But the verb which has ing needs to have future meaning. For example, hope or wish or plan or intend. So if we look at the example, I will be hoping for a miracle, we have the future continuous, will be, and then the verb which has the ing with it needs to be a verb with future meaning. So will be hoping. I will be hoping for a miracle in order to pay my bills by Monday.